Hello again, everybody. Welcome to syracuse.com's SOS Spotlight of the Week. Today, we are lucky enough to be joined by Bishop Ludden girls basketball player Amarah Streiff, and she is a junior forward on the Ludden basketball team, which has won its first couple games, and she's off to a hot start, which shouldn't be surprising since Amarah's been on the team since seventh grade and is piling up the points. So, you'd be expected that she'd be starting off pretty quickly, and she has. We'll start with that, Amara. What are your observations on the season so far, and what were your expectations coming in?
Yeah, so I definitely hold high expectations, for myself and my team coming off an undefeated season of 9-0. So the caliber's been really, set high. There's a very high standards. We're trying to exceed those standards throughout the season, especially coming off the win against CNS, which was 50-4, which we knew going into it was pretty difficult, but, we knew what we had to do to override the win. So we just decided to stick to what we know and, keep to everybody's strengths, and we came out on top.
You mentioned the 9-0 mark last year. Normally that would be a good springboard to the playoffs, or on the way to the playoffs. Because of the playoffs, because of COVID, there were no playoffs. You just had to stop. How much did that factor into the motivation of coming into this year and hopefully going through a whole year and showing everybody just exactly what you have?
Yeah, it's definitely a humongous factor. 9-0, like I said, the caliber is really set high, and people now know who Bishop Ludden is, whereas before we might have been seen as the underdog, to say the least. And it means a lot to finally get our name out and for people to not underestimate us anymore. So just holding that standard high and being able to, exceed everybody's standards, just sticking to the basics, staying to who we are, especially this year. We lost a lot of our seniors, so we brought a lot of our JV girls. We no longer have a JV team. So being able to, come together and continue our fight and, defend our title of that 9-0 undefeated, it's important to us.
Because it's quite a progression for the program. I think a couple of years ago, you were closer to 500 or at 500. So in the past couple of years, it's really taken off. Part of that's because you're so good. But did you kind of see this coming, where a couple of years ago you weren't quite where you wanted to be, but you could feel something building in the program?
Yeah, this is a different type of program, to say the least. We are definitely a family. We definitely have each other's back, and coming to it, especially from Holy Family, which was a small school, coming in, with the big dogs, to say the least. So people who are a lot older, a lot stronger. I definitely knew that I had a lot to work up with. However, coming in with, Aurora Deshays, Carly Leo, Danielle Roush, I was excited. I definitely knew that from there on out that I become somebody, and that I wanted to set high limits and standards for myself that are obtainable. And then once I got to those, just being able to push myself further and set higher limits.
What do you see as your role on the court? Because you've had such a strong career, yet only a junior, so good, so young, but you've wanted to get better every year. Take me through how you've seen your progression. Are you surprised by anything? Are you surprised by how you had an impact right away and have just gotten better every year?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely like to portray myself as a leader role, and as a mom, to say the least. I definitely take, the younger kids under my, wing, and prove them right from wrong. And if they're in their head, just kind of explain to them that, it's okay. Like, I've been in their shoes. I know what it feels like. And just to overpower themselves in their, like, a certain state of mind is very important. And, as that leader role, I think team-wise, I should bring energy, as I said before, just maintaining enthusiasm throughout the game, pushing people, just keeping everybody motivated, because as a team, we all have that common goal, and that common goal is to succeed. So we have to do that together. It can't just be everyone out for themselves. And I think especially with this team, we finally, realize that, we are a team, we are a family, and we can do this with one another. I've got the girl on the right and I've got the girl on the left. And, that's what makes us who we are.
Let's flash back all those years ago to seventh grade. There aren't too many players in quality programs that continue to come up in the seventh grade. Do you remember? Can you put yourself back in that mindset? Do you remember what you were thinking? Did you think you'd be good right away? Were you surprised to be a seventh grader on a quality varsity program?
I definitely thought that I had a role to come and a role to fill. when Danielle was older, she's the one that I definitely looked up to in the highest regards. And I knew that one day I wanted to be just as good as her, if not better, to say the least. But I knew that I had to set my expectations high, as well as, the coach's expectations and everybody's limits and everybody watching around me. I knew that everybody had expectations, whether good or bad, or for better or for worse. I knew that I could do it. And I knew that with supporters behind me and through, the good and the bad times, that I could do anything that I put my mind to. And as soon as I put my mind to it, I just had the straight goal that, I'm going to make people remember who I am. I'm going to put a statement on this school. And that's been my goal ever since I got here. And that'll be my goal until I graduate.
Well, you've been a person of your word. In fact, your coach mentioned that she asked you, I guess you were in the 8th grade when she took over, and she asked you what your goals were. And at that time you were, just had the 1 year. And I think you said you're either going to score 1,000 points. You may have said you're going to score the most points in school history. So in other words, you're quite confident early on. Do you remember that? And what was behind that, that early assertion?
Yeah, that's always been one of my goals, to have one of those balls that say Amarah Streiff 1,000 points. Like that was just something that I knew that I wanted to pursue in my career. Regardless of when it happened, I just knew that that's something I wanted to do. And so I just put my head down. I did what I could do. I did what I could do that was in my control. And so that's been the goal ever since. And
Sure.
It's amazing. I couldn't be more grateful.
And as we sit here now, you're only a couple hundred points behind her on the all-time school list. And frankly, with another year and a half left, you could wind up close to the Section 3 record. But do you and Coach ever talk about how you're very, very close to overtaking her on the Ludden's all-time scoring list?
Yes, all the time. We go back and forth about what standards are set, what are the limitations, and I've always told her that give me the highest expectations that there are. I'm here to overexceed I'm here to overexceed what anybody's told me to do. I'm here to just make a statement. And we've talked about how I'm very close to that line, thankfully. I'm truly excited if I were to surpass it, and I couldn't be more grateful that God's given me the opportunity to play this game that I love and just being able to exceed everybody's limits.
Sure. Well, in your spare time, that is to say, springtime, you play a little bit of softball. And looking up your stats, it seems you've rarely making out. You have quite impressive numbers during your varsity career in softball. I know that's sport 1A or maybe sport B, but where does softball fit into everything? Do you I assume you like basketball more than softball, but you're quite good at softball. Where does softball fit into your overall approach?
Yeah, so softball was like the first sport I would say I ever played. So I used to play at like Geddes Little League fields. I used to do all the little league, little tournaments. And then I officially started playing basketball at Hoyt Family around the sixth grade. 5th grade, I played with like Caitlin Kibling, Sarah Boye, Maddie Moe, and those girls. And then in 6th grade, unfortunately, there were no other girls who wanted to play on the girls team. So I ended up playing with the boys. And that was when I really, turned to basketball. Like, okay, like this is where my heart is. This is, it's what I love to do. And so with softball, I didn't necessarily push it to the side, but, I still love playing sports. I just kind of took basketball head on.
And also, you have some other interests besides sports that you'd like to fill up your time away from the field and court. Tell us a little bit about what keeps you busy, what you like to do when you're not playing sports to sort of, fill the time.
Yeah, so I watch a lot of sports, believe it or not. I know it might be hard to tell, but I love watching my cousins, especially my brother. He's currently on the JV team. So being able to watch him grow both as a student and an athlete has been, amazing for me. Like I said before, I just like helping around the community, being able to, do things that, may not seem big, but I know in the long run will benefit not only me, but the people around me. And I think that's just truly beneficial. And I think people undermine sometimes the simple deeds that we can do throughout our life. And I think when it comes down to it, the simple deeds make the biggest difference in the world. So that's what I try to keep with.
Where do you think you get that from? Because sometimes teenagers, you don't maybe pick that up. Some people never pick that up. Where do you think you get the interest and motivation to maybe help others?
I think I definitely get it from my mom. My mom manages a team for people who can't, or children specifically, who can't eat orally. And so she helps around if they need like buttons or trachs or any medical necessity. She's always there to help them. She'll give them like her own personal phone call, her own personal number, so they can always reach out to her. So I think she's been like my hero in a way, to say the least. She's definitely proven to me that, even if it's the little things like a trach or button, like these are the little things that save the child's life and make a difference in the home and just bring the family closer together, because at the end of the day, they have that child to be with.
Sure. Now you have big plans. I know some Division I colleges are looking at you already as a junior. Uh, what sort of interest have you gotten? Who have you heard from? Who might be kind of at the head of the pack here?
Definitely just taking in all the options right now, kind of weighing benefits, pros and cons. Still trying to figure out where I want to be. I talk with Youngstown, East Tennessee State, Colgate's been recently, Lafayette, but UMass Lowell. There's a couple, but I try to build relationships with the people that I see myself furthering my career in. I think trust and relationships is a big part of what makes a person who they are, and so I enjoy figuring out who people are, not only on the phone, but going on visits and just seeing what each school has to offer.
What would you like to study?
I'm thinking pre-med or pediatrics. I'd like to go in that realm, maybe a pediatrician or a NICU nurse.
Okay. Well, so much to accomplish at your school and with your team. Before then, if you just play it out, like I think you said before, you could approach 2,000 points or more, which very, very few players in the section have ever gotten to. Do you think about, what the possibilities are over the next year and a half with both your team and yourself on the basketball court?
Yeah, for sure. I think about it every day we touch the court. I think of the amount of opportunities we have in this career, especially within my career within the next 2 years. A goal for this year is not only my hopes is to pass, if not exceed Danielle's record, and hopefully to one day, if not in this career, or not in this season, but in my senior season, to hit 2,000 points, which is pretty high for me. And then I would love to win sectionals and head to states with my team this year. That's been on the goal. And, I'd like to hang a banner in our gym. That's always been a goal of mine, get the ring to go with it. So that's a goal.
Well, it's certainly a lot to shoot for, but as you've shown in the past 4 seasons, you've accomplished so much in the years. I think it would be silly to doubt what you and your teammates could do. So that's certainly definitely on the table. That should do it for now. Join us next week, and we'll have another syracuse.com SOS Spotlight Athlete of the Week. Stay safe this week, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next week.